Okay, so I was just thinking about one-dimensionality, and it struck me how it seems that a lot of people in the world are perceiving that a person is a one-dimensional being. It's like wildly enforced also by our job descriptions. Certain cultures do this thing where it's like you introduce yourself and you immediately also say what it is that you do, as though that would give you some kind of framework to expect what kind of person you're talking to. I think this is like completely wrong. Like, first of all, it's wildly confusing to just assume that someone who has one occupation definitely therefore matches a certain characteristic or character description. Anyone could be anything, and you shouldn't really like necessarily therefore conclude that they're a certain type of person, a certain age, a certain religion, whatever, a certain type of anything. They could be any kind of person. I mean, of course, aside from the obvious, like if you're a Catholic priest, you're probably Catholic, I guess, or something like that. So someone was talking to me about how this might be perceived, this vlog that I'm doing, and that's actually how this whole like thought got triggered in my head, and I'm like thinking about it, being like, okay, so this vlog is relatively loose, it's relaxed, it shows a lot of my quirky personalities. Sometimes it might be serious, sometimes it might be funny, and that's maybe because people are a more complex thing, and especially us, like especially all the minorities that are out there that are a little different than the majorities. We are also complex, sometimes even more complex than the majorities. But any human being has the right to be really complex and have multiple facets of themselves. You could be super goofy, into video games, into music, into hip-hop and classical music. You could at the same time be a super respected lawyer, and you could also be a great dad. You could be a wonderful husband, or you could be a playboy, or you could be whatever. And all these things can go together into the same person. And I see a lot of this where people are, let's say, into comics, and you meet them on a convention, and it turns out they have this, like some kind of job that is considered to be super serious. And they're embarrassed to admit it, as though those two things couldn't go together, or as though you wouldn't have the right as a human being to find something completely ridiculous pleasurable. It's almost like no one ever told anyone, you're allowed to like whatever you like, and it doesn't have to be intellectually valuable, it doesn't have to be of a certain standard or quality. It's about liking it. It's whatever you enjoy. So please, world, adjust this and make this a more like happy place by accepting that human beings are super complex and multifaceted, and that is amazing, and that's what makes us great. Yeah. Rant over. Rant not over. So what I mean to say is, if anyone cannot get it together that I'm a person who's in their 30s, who identifies as male, who likes video games and music, who works in some very high professional areas as a composer and as a coach and as an educator, and at the same time is super quirky and goofy and loves cartoons and loves infantile humor and is weird in that sense that it seems to not be coherent, that is what coherent looks like. It looks like a person who is like not hiding any parts of themselves, at least not with the people that he's close to, and who doesn't make an effort to try to be all one thing, one streamlined, supposedly coherent character, because these coherent characters, the way we imagine them, they're fake. They're not real. They're our imagination. We think that if you're a lawyer, you're the serious guy who wears the pinstripe pajama or whatever to bed and always talks in this very monotone and serious voice, and that's how he is with all the people that he interacts with. And that's simply just not how it works. And I just see an absence of acceptance for humanity, because this is humanity, to not always be the same and to have moods and good days and bad days and not necessarily coherent things that you like and many, many sides to yourself. I have no idea what I was going to say. Well, please accept that's how humans are. And if you have a problem with me being that way, or if you think it somehow takes away from my knowledgeableness ability, whatever, or my credibility as a coach or as someone who has a lot of experience in a lot of fields and who has no idea whatsoever in many, many other fields, or whatever, just don't do it, okay? It's wrong. People are people, they're amazing. Give them a chance to show all their sides, and don't judge them for some that might not be the same. I guess this also kind of partially ties into, for especially us as the gifted and multiple acceptable community, there's something called asynchronous development. You can check it out in the link below. But the gist of it is not all sides of us develop at the same time. So you can very well meet someone who is in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, who hasn't developed certain aspects of their persona because it's like the trigger for that process to start hasn't happened for them. And until it happens, they will be stuck on a certain development level. This is hugely simplified, and so you can just read up on the link that I'll post in the description. But this expression is also, that's just one extreme of it for our minority. There's way more of it, and I think, like I said, it applies to everybody, so yeah. Also, talking about myself, I'm not in any way implying that I'm completely free of unjustly judging people or, superimposing and projecting my image of what a person is supposed to be like in my stupid little head onto others. I do that too, but I'm working to stop it, and I want to encourage everyone else to also work towards that, because I think the world would be a way better place if we didn't do this. Okay, now seriously, rant over. I have a mission today. I'm in Barcelona and I'm going outside to find some proper sunglasses to wear and to possibly buy some inline skates. So these are basically the sunglasses that I currently own, the only ones. I don't think they suit me particularly, so therefore they're also the reason I want different ones. I bought these maybe 4 or 5 years ago, back when I still lived in Canada, and I really just needed something. They were I think $2.50. Hi, so I'm Future Merlin, and the thing that I want to explain to you is that skating, particularly electric longboards and skates and stuff, and also skydiving and all, and snowboarding, all those things that I really like doing, they evoke a very particular feeling for me, which is sort of like flying. I generally feel too heavy when I'm on the ground, and I feel much more comfortable if I can float. My biggest dream is kind of flying like Peter Pan, but so far I haven't found a way to doing that, and so I'm taking everything that gets close to that. And because whenever I can get that feeling, it feels really good and it helps me regulate my nervous system, it helps me calm down, it helps me feel free and unlimited and unconstrained. And that's why I'm trying to get these skates, so I have something that I can do on the ship that gives me that feeling, because I can't fly with my longboard. They don't allow it in the plane because of the battery and so on and so forth. And so yeah, I just wanted to explain that to you because I noticed while editing that I don't say that anywhere. Hi, Future Merlin again. So there's another thing completely unrelated that I wanted to say. So I really like Diana Wynne Jones' books. And she's the one who wrote Howl's Moving Castle, which is, I guess, the most famous one. But there's a lot of other books that she wrote. One in particular that I'm currently re-listening to is the Crestomancy series. And something that I really like from that series is that in that particular universe, there's magic, but everyone has a particular type of magic. And there's like categories and magic types that are not yet fully discovered or fully researched. And that's part of what happens in the books on the side. And I really like that idea, not just particularly related to magic, but also particularly as an analogy for humans, because I think the skill sets that we humans have, depending on how we are and how we function and who we are often not seen, and so they are not often examined close enough to notice how different it can be that someone reads or rides their bike or creates something. And I find these different styles of how to do something very, very interesting. And I think it's very interesting also for oneself to know that maybe I write a piece of music this way, and then I have friends who write it a completely different way. And comparing our different styles and the functionalities that we use for that, if it's intuitive or if it's very intellectual or any of those different styles, that can be very, very much expanding for my own understanding of things and how I can do things. And I like to try different stuff out. And so because of my earlier rant, which was actually a few days ago, I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if we always had this curiosity towards each other, that we maybe can do the same things, but we don't assume that someone else does the same thing in the same way that we do it. And therefore we stay curious, and we also stay more open-minded to having different ways and different needs and everything different. And so yeah, I'm obviously prone towards looking at things in a magical fashion. My name is Merlin after all, but still, I think life is magic, and I think humans and everything we do is magic in a way. So maybe just as an idea, let's imagine that the magic from the elves is different than the magic from the dwarves, and maybe there's not just fantasy magic, but maybe there's also technomancers and necromancers and all kinds of weather and all the different types. And maybe we can use that as an analogy to look at each other and see how we are, because I think that would be nice. Okay, bye. Man, it's hot out here. Places like this that are so beautiful, that have sand pavement. I wish I had my longboard with me. It's one of my most prized possessions, most valued possessions, because it can go on asphalt and on gravel and stuff like that. So yeah, I wish I could bring that, but sadly that's not possible, which is why I'm getting the skates. Okay, so that only kind of worked out. I didn't know that they were closing at 2 p.m. for 3 hours. When they're opening, I kind of have to be back on the ship already. So I got to try a few skates on, but I didn't really have enough time to decide on anything. So now I'm going to just see if I can find something else, different store, or maybe I'll do it another time. So far I haven't found skates because the store is closed, and I haven't found sunglasses I like because I stopped somewhere to eat, and now I kind of have to go back to the ship. So maybe I'll try that again tomorrow. be able to peek under Columbus's rope. Couldn't really see anything. He seems to be hiding it well. Whoa, loopy art.